What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Blitz Fantasy Football. My name is Ryan Linkletter, and I'm here with Danny Carpenter. Danny, Fantasy Football Championship is here for a ton of people. A lot of money on the line, some pride on the line, whatever it is, coming off of Christmas. Uh,
Yep.
Could be a great week. Obviously, the scoring from those Christmas games. CD Lamb had a dud. Travis Kelsey didn't do much. George Pickens didn't do much. So looks like everybody is still within the race, and there's nobody that went like Puka Nakua last Thursday night
Yeah.
and you thought your week was over already. So it should be an exciting week. How was your Christmas?
That wasn't too bad other than fighting COVID, of course, trying to get over it and getting all of our Christmas plans straightened out now after that because it went through my house. But other than I'm ready for the weekend. I mean, exciting. I mean, Christmas is still Christmas for me right now because we're still doing stuff.
Yeah, I feel that too. I'm fighting it. I've had a flu game this entire week trying to get this
Mhm.
content out on time for you guys. The whole Blitz staff seems like it's going around and none of us are together. So that is the crazy part about the flu this year is that it is really spreading quickly. So
Yes.
like you normally do this, we're going to answer everybody's questions throughout this video. Once the questions stop, me and Danny will be done and we'll send you guys your way. But like you said, typically takes an hour and we will answer everybody's questions throughout this one so you can secure that W. Also, big announcement coming this weekend. Hopefully, Fantasy Football Playoff Challenge is coming to our website. Will be a $25 buy-in, weekly lineups, and you will get to compete against me and Danny in that event. Should be a great time. I will send out more information on that on our social media channels when that gets publicly announced. But without further ado, let's get into the questions. And it wouldn't be a stream without Deontay Thornton mentioned. Deontay Thornton or Puka Nakua. Oh man, we love you. We appreciate all the support throughout the year. Shout out to our
Exactly.
Blitz go, Deontay Thornton. All right, real questions. Let's go. Do I dare sit AJ Brown due to weather concerns and start Myers and Swift as my wide receiver two in flex? What are your thoughts here?
Uh, well, first I'm going Myers as my wide receiver too. They're a big game right there. The total's above 50 in that game, so and it's indoors, so you don't have to worry about the weather too much. Now it comes down to AJ Brown or Swift. AJ's played well here recently. They seem like they've been throwing the ball a little bit more, and even with the running game getting more explosive with Barkley here lately. But that game in San Francisco, it could be a preview of the NFC title game possibly too with those two teams, the way the NFC has been this year. Swift is probably gonna get touches. I mean, he's not on an injury report that I know of off the top of my head, but that game's also above 50 for a total. I would probably lean Swift just if you're worried, concerned about the weather in Buffalo. I believe they're on the tail end of all the nasty stuff that's going through the Northeast right now. So hopefully they have better conditions tomorrow for them. I would lean Swift right now, but it's between Swift and Brown for that flex spot, but Myers is my wide receiver too.
Yeah, it depends on the format. I mean, if it's anything less than PPR, I would probably, make sure Swift is in my lineup there. I got Jacoby Myers as a must start this week, but I also can't discredit what AJ Brown has been doing.
Yeah.
He's been so dominant over the last month and a half in fantasy football, and I know he has that volatility that comes with being AJ Brown and on the Philadelphia Eagles, but he's just been so good that he's almost you just can't bench him at this point. He has been a big reason as to why you're in this championship game because of his run over this last few weeks. He's going against Buffalo. I think Buffalo is going to move the ball effectively against this Eagles defense, especially on the ground. AJ Brown is going to get that target volume. His target share has been right above 30% over the last month. I like AJ Brown to continue the consistency and have a strong day. They don't Buffalo's defense relies on a lot of zone coverage.
Mhm.
AJ Brown has struggled against zone in his career, but when he does get looks against it, he has cashed in well over the last few weeks. I like AJ Brown and Jacoby Myers out of that grouping there. All right, next question here. Tyler Warren or Taysom Hill? He has JT and ETN playing in that game already. Also, Michael Carter or Tracy playing against Puka, unfortunately. Puka is a scary sight. Anytime you're going against Puka, it is a scary sight for sure. And you just got to hope he doesn't go for 200 yards and two tutties like he did last week.
Yeah, he's on a monster run right now, and I can't see Atlanta slowing him down being an indoor game too. And plus, I'm sure they're gonna be pushing for the MVP for Stafford, so they'll be looking to push the ball down the field against that team. Now it comes down to between Warren and Hill. Kind of leaning Hill a little bit right here. Just the fact that he had the most rushes last week in that offense, and they don't really have a true number one running back, so he may get see that again against the Tennessee defense. Warren been a little lackluster here lately. I mean, it seems like the old man hasn't been able to get him the ball as he has the receivers and stuff. So I'd probably lean Taysom Hill right now. and between Michael Carter and Tracy, I'm gonna go Tracy. That I think that game may be sneaky for scoring points this week for fantasy football. So I wouldn't overlook that Giants Raiders game this week just because it's one of the late games too. You have a late game guy kind of surprise everybody and pick you up and win for the championship.
Yeah, I have both these guys and these groupings very similar and close. Kind of based on it. I like Tyler Warren. I thought Philip Rivers would be peppering him the ball a little bit
Yeah.
more. Rivers has always loved the tight end position, but it seems like him and Tyler Warren can't get on the same page. Like you watched the game against the 49ers last week, like he's throwing them hospital balls a lot, and it like didn't turn out very well for Warren's production. I have Warren ranked as my tight end 14 right now. Taysom Hill, he's my tight end 10 entering this week. I think with the injuries at running back for New Orleans, they basically said Taysom Hill's our best running back compared to Audric Estime and Evan Hull. So we're going to find a way to get him the ball. He had a ton of rushes last week, had a 40% route share, and completed a 38-yard touchdown pass. Remember, this is a tight end position that you're getting out of him. And sure,
Yeah.
he's an incredibly volatile play. I'm not going to say that Taysom Hill's not, but the upside is genuinely something that, like you're playing Puka Nakua, like that's something you chase with Taysom Hill is the upside of him getting 10 carries, catching 3 to 4 passes, and then going from there and trusting that volume against the Tennessee defense that has struggled against the rushing attack for a majority of teams. And I think that Taysom Hill's just that guy for you this week. As far as Michael Carter and Tyrone Tracy go, two guys that got back to back. Carter is my RB24. Tracy is my RB22 this week. I think both of them have great matchups with Max Crosby out. This Raiders defense has a little bit more of a hole on that ground game. When they have had Max Crosby, they've actually been a really good run defense this year. Carter has a great matchup as well against Cincinnati. Both are very viable running backs this week, but give me Tyrone Tracy. I think him and Jackson Dart should be in for solid performances against this Las Vegas defense that they're basically openly saying we want to lose this game to get a higher draft pick. So
Yeah.
give me Tyrone Tracy in this one. JC, welcome back, my guy. Good morning, family. Made it to the championship. Purdy versus Chicago, Brissett versus Cincinnati, Hampton versus Houston, or Ramondre versus the Jets if Henderson is out. Half PPR. What are your thoughts, Danny?
I know Brissett had the hot hand here recently, but what Purdy did last week, that's hard to ignore. I'd go on Purdy against Chicago. Like the over in that game is going to, the middle is actually above like a 52 or 51, something like that. I would go Purdy. I know Houston's defense has been really playing well here lately, but if Henderson happens to play, that kind of hurts Ramonde's upside for being half PPR. I'd probably go Hampton right there in that situation, just the fact that Henderson hasn't been completely ruled out yet.
I was muted there for a second, but
Yes, you were.
as far as this goes, I got Purdy higher than Brissett. I have both as must starts this week, so you're in a great situation there, I believe. Both of them have high floors. Both of them have been balling out. I know Brissett had that one down week last week against Atlanta, which was a great matchup. So it just was one of those fantasy scenarios where it didn't make much sense. But this week heading into it, I like Purdy versus Chicago more. He has been the hotter quarterback. Chicago in this game is going to be a playoff game atmosphere. They've allowed the fifth most passing touchdowns and the second most adjusted yards per play. Purdy's my quarterback 6%, quarterback 8. With the biggest difference for me is that just this 49ers offense is actually going to score points. With Arizona, you don't get that consistency of the point production in this offense. San Francisco, on the other hand, 36 plus in 3 of their last 5 games. Chicago's not a world beater defense by any means. I expect Brock Purdy to have a nice day in a game that the over is just looking like a lock in that one for me. As far as Hampton versus Ramondre go, I'm going Hampton in this one. I know Houston is a scary matchup for some, but their weakness is going to be on their ground. Hampton's volume increased last week with Kamani Vidal getting injured. He was really good in that. He scored 14.5 points or more in 2 of his 3 starts now. So I think Marion Hampton gives you the best chance there. I feel like with Stevenson, obviously, if Henderson's out, he seems like a great play, but I just don't think he's as highly has a high of a floor as Hampton this week, and I still think Hampton has a higher ceiling, despite the matchup being a little bit tougher. Another question here: Kadarius Toney or JSN? I don't know. I think Kadarius Toney is scoring a touchdown in the Big 2-6.
Oh,
I think
exactly,
he is.
exactly. He's
I
returning one
think
on
he
a
is.
touchdown, on punt return.
All right. JC again. Also, Fannin says he's playing against Pittsburgh. Roll with him or Strange versus Indy. What are your thoughts?
I love Fannin. My spreadsheet likes him. He's going to be one of my DFS must start at tight end again this week. Just the fact that the Steelers are not one of the they struggle against tight ends this year. They've given up 95 catches the whole season, 10 touchdowns, and I think it's a little more than 16 points a game. And Fannon's the only guy really there that Shadir's been really throwing the ball to. So Fannon's still the guy, even if he's limited a little bit. I know, well, the report said it's a groin injury, and he even said that was kind of more precautionary just than anything else. I'd probably go with Fannin just for the fact right there.
Yeah, I listen, both of them have great matchups this week. Strange obviously faced Indianapolis a few weeks back and didn't cash in on that great matchup, but Indianapolis last week, you saw them try to cover George Kittle and they just could not do it.
Yeah.
They stunk against tight ends the entire year, but Harold Fannin has been a different animal since Shadur Sanders took over a quarterback and David Njoku has been banged up. He's been averaging close to like a 30% target share, and he's been averaging 15.3 points per game since Shadur took over. The only one of us more, Trey McBride. Like he's
Mhm.
been that good in fantasy football and on the field consistently with his target share, his usage, and even he was one of the few people that had a good game against the Buffalo Bills defense who have absolutely shut down tight ends the entire year. This offense clearly runs through Harold Fannin Jr. in the passing game. Pittsburgh, third most points allowed to tight ends this year. Give me Harold Fannin is going to have a great game. Would love to have him in a lineup.
Yep.
Love to hear your current thoughts on Loveland versus Hill with Kamara out. Oh man, these
That's a
two I've
tough
been
one.
tossing up between very close
Yeah.
throughout. What are your thoughts?
Uh, 2 good choices to have right there. I'd probably lean Hill just the fact he's got the rushing upside and the every chance to throw a touchdown pass or anything like that right now. Loving the situation they're going against San Francisco. That game's gonna be a high scoring game. There should be opportunities for him to score the ball. There should be points scored. So they're probably gonna need him in the passing game as more. I'd probably lean Hill, but it's not that much of a lean over Loveland this week.
Yeah, I have both close. I have Hill at 10, Loveland at 12, right? I think the biggest difference for me is the Bears get Luther Burden back, right?
Yeah.
That's a little bit of a knock to Colston Loveland. I think if Adunze and Burden miss this one, I might have Loveland slightly higher just because of that pecking order in Chicago. But the Bears are still going to target that slot position on the 49ers, which is their biggest weakness. And I think Burden is the biggest beneficiary of that. So I think Loveland gets a little bit of a bump. But Taysom Hill, like I mentioned, like he's genuinely a guy that gets you 10 plus rushes, 3 to 4 catches, and that production from the tight end position alone is worth that value. And like I said, like it's been unpredictable what he's done in the Kellen Moore offense the entire year. The one thing I know is that with Alvin Kamara, Devin Neal both hurt, they
Mhm.
do not trust, and Kendra Miller too. They don't
Yeah.
trust Audric Estime and Evan Hull to carry the workload share in the backfield. And this is probably Taysom Hill's last run in New Orleans. It worked well last week. They got a win. I expect Taysom Hill to have a similar type of usage in an offense that's been playing a lot better as of late. So expect Taysom Hill to have that volume this week against the Titans. Epic ape fight. That is a name right there. I love it. I love it. Morning, guys. In one league, PPR wide receiver two
Yeah.
and flex with Parker Washington, Ladd, and Burden. I just literally glazed Luther Burden. What are your thoughts?
Lad has the name recognition, but Parker
He
Washington and
does
Burns
have the
are in
name
play here.
recognition.
Just the fact that game, we're not sure about how that game's gonna play out tonight with Houston the Chargers. It could be a shootout or it could be 10-7 game. It's you never know what to really expect with the offenses more than anything with them. I'd probably go Parker because might as well go with Trevor Lawrence has had the hot hand the last couple weeks. He's accounted for 10 touchdowns the last 2 weeks this season, and Washington actually went off last week too. So there may be a little more residual looks at him this coming week. And with Burden, like you said earlier, San Francisco struggles against the slot, and Burden should be back. So, and that should be a high scoring game. So, Lad's the name guy, but I'm probably sitting him between the three of them this week. Just the fact of the matchups.
Yeah, listen, I'm trying to make sure I got all my right. Like I absolutely despise Ladd this week. Like he is going against Houston, right? It's been very easy to predict Ladd's success once we
Yeah.
kind of realized that his role was not going to be the same this year. When he faces a really tough slot defense, he doesn't perform. When he faces a really good matchup, he has a nice day in fantasy. Like last week, for example, faced the Cowboys, 14
Yep.
point performance. Nice. Ladd, great job, right? When he faced the Kansas City Chiefs the week before, nowhere to be found against a tough slot matchup. This week he gets Jalen Petrie in the slot, who has allowed a 45% passer rating when targeted this year. It's not a great matchup at all. Listen, I think that Parker Washington and Burden are probably your best bets here. Parker Washington in general. just as clearly had a chemistry with Trevor Lawrence, and Brian Thomas Jr. might be the most talented wide receiver three in the league. And it's crazy to talk about his fall off, but I'm getting sidetracked here. But Parker Washington clearly has a strong connection with Trevor Lawrence. You saw that last week with his 140-yard performance against the Broncos. And then Luther Burden, he was being really brought into this Bears offense prior to his ankle injury. I expect him to be a full go this week. It wasn't a major ankle injury by any means. In the 49ers, like I mentioned, they're really bad against the slot. I have a lot of bets tied to Luther Burden this weekend, and I expect him to cash in on those based on the matchups alone. So give me Parker Washington and Luther Burden this week. A note from our GOAT, Rico Dowdle, 65 yards for $1 million bonus, or James Cook. Here's the thing with bonuses. Obviously, you're going James Cook in this situation.
Mhm.
Bonuses are massive heading into the week, but if they have a tough matchup like Rico Dowdle against Seattle, it's still not worth it to start him because he has 2 weeks to hit 65
Yeah.
yards. I think he's probably doing that. And let's say he gets like 25 yards this week, you just bet him the over for 40 yards next week or something like that. I think for Rico Dowdle, like it's just a really disappointing downturn in his production over the last month of the season. He's not scoring touchdowns. His
Yeah.
efficiency has dropped. He's not breaking tackles anymore. I don't want him anywhere near my lineup this weekend in a must-win game. All right, next question here. Add in another PPR running back two with Henderson, Hampton, and wide receiver two, and flex with Watson, Michael Wilson, Jennings, Pittman, and Mike Evans. What are your thoughts here, Danny?
Let's see, PPR RB2. I'm probably leaning Hampton, just the fact that he's a little bit safer role right now because even if Henderson's healthy, he's still gonna split with Stevenson. Wide receiver 2 in the flex. Um, Still go Michael Wilson. I mean, they're playing against the Bengals and the weather, they may have some weather issues and stuff right there, but ah, that's tough right there, shoot. I probably It's Pittman or Evans. It's a coin flip right there. I just take a coin and flip it on those 2 right there. I'm not real sure who'd be the second guy on that, but Wilson would be the wide receiver 2. The flex would be part between Pittman and Evans. Unless something comes up and Henderson's going, "Hey, he's gonna be the starter, Stevenson's gonna play the backup role," then probably Henderson would be the flex, but I'd probably go Hampton as the RB2, Wilson as the wide receiver 2, and coin flip between Pittman and Evans as the flex.
Yeah, I think as far as Henderson goes, if he does go this week, I'm downgrading him just because I think that he doesn't play his normal amount of snaps. And he's already kind of had a hard time staying consistently on the field with a healthy Ramondre Stevenson, even after some of his breakout games. Like his performance against Buffalo, they still operated in a very close snap share.
Yeah,
Travion just broke a few runs away, and then his stat line looked really good because of that. And coming off of an injury where he's literally a game time decision, I don't think he has a massive role this
no.
week, and I have a hard time seeing him reaching his ceiling against the Jets. So give me Amari and Hampton out of those two guys. As far as the wide receiver two and flex goes, Mike Evans, get him in your lineup. Like the target share has been elite for him when he's been in there. This is a must-win game for them. I have Evans as my wide receiver 12. I know Miami's been really good locking down receivers, but a taller receiver like Mike Evans, we saw, T. Higgins cash in on that last week. They have a similar type of profile, similar type of route tree. I think Evans scores a touchdown and has a nice day in fantasy. Then, as far as my wide receiver two goes, it's close. Wilson and Jennings are those two that I have paired together, but I have Jawan Jennings slightly higher. I think with Wilson, he could draw DJ Turner at times. We'll talk about it. And actually, we could pair another question with this in a second, but I want to go Jawan Jennings. He's my wide receiver 13. He's been on fire as of late. He's scored a ton of touchdowns. His red zone targets are now within the top 10 of all receivers, and his production since returning to that lineup without Ricky Pearsall has been significantly different. When Pearsall's on the field, right, his production dips. When he's off the field, Jawan Jennings has been a different type of playmaker, and he's kind of returned to that relevance that he had last season. He's been really good in Chicago's secondary, has allowed some receiver production over the last few weeks for sure. As far as Michael Wilson goes, this is a question we got down a little bit. Is
Mhm.
Marvin Harrison Jr. trustworthy or get Michael Wilson back in my lineup? I like Michael Wilson more. Last week,
Yeah,
Marvin Harrison Jr. only played 50% of snaps, and they are non-committal about playing him more because they're out of it. They have zero incentive to push Marvin Harrison Jr. and play him more in a meaningless game, right? When this team's already out of playoff contention. He
yeah.
struggled. He only had like 30 receiving yards, I want to say, last week when he returned. And DJ Turner has been one of the best lockdown shadow corners in football over the last few weeks. Michael Wilson, a guy that you can move more around the field in the slot on the outside, right? Marvin Harrison Jr., more of a guy that is specifically on the perimeter and has struggled this year for consistency. So I would go Michael Wilson out of those two guys. All right, next question here. Bobby Steele from Twitter. Carter Warren or Corum 0.5 PPR. What are your thoughts?
I'm probably going Warren here. The Steelers have nobody to throw the ball to in the offense right now with DK getting suspended,
It's a running back
Austin's
game.
out. Yeah, out. Austin's out as well. Then all you got left is the tight ends, and you got Thielen, Valdez Scantling as the wide receivers really for the Steelers. So I see Warren and Gainwell having a lot of usage in this coming game. So I'd probably go with Warren right there, chance of scoring a touchdown, and maybe see a few passes out of the backfield for half PPR. Carter has a good matchup against Cincinnati. Corum, you never know how they're going to break down the carries between him and Kyron Williams. So I'd probably go Warren just the fact he's going to have a solid floor and some upside because there's no no wide receivers to throw the ball to in Pittsburgh against Cleveland this week.
Yeah, I like both Steelers running backs this week. I think they're both going to be in for strong performances. You saw against Detroit last week what these two were able to do in a tandem. Warren, it feels like, has been the lower floor play of the two and the lower ceiling play. But
Mhm.
I think against Cleveland this week, he's going to have the rushing volume. This Cleveland defense, since week 12, has actually been one of the worst run defenses in fantasy football in terms of yards allowed, which is crazy because they were dominant to
Yeah.
open the season. But they have been allowing a ton of rushing volume over the last few weeks. I expect Jalen Warren to have a very nice day. He does have that receiving volume as well that he can rely on at times. As far as Corum goes, he scores a ton of touchdowns. I think he's a viable RB3 this week. Carter, low end RB2, but I think Jalen Warren is the better play of the bunch. He gets that guaranteed volume. He's going against a solid matchup this week against the Browns. And like you mentioned, they're without DK Metcalf. They're going to find a way to get their best playmakers the ball, which is Jalen Warren and Kenneth Gainwell now in this offense. All right, Galaxy pickers here. How do we feel about Diggs this week with Booty and Hollins out? What are your thoughts?
Solid play. I mean, he's probably going to get the majority of the targets this week, just the fact there's nobody else there. But my spreadsheet actually threw out Kyle Williams this week. So Kyle Williams could be a sneaky play this week, just the fact that those two guys are out, and he has shown some flashes when he has chances to play. So I think both those Diggs is a solid play this week. You can start him, and Kyle Williams is one of those guys. If you're in a deep league and you need somebody, you can probably slide him in there and get some sneaky points out of as well. But Diggs is a good play this week.
Yeah, listen, I as long as Keyshawn Boot and Mac Hollins are out, that's great news for Stephon Diggs because the biggest
Mhm.
concern with him has been the target share. And while I'm the one guy that you mentioned, Kyle Williams, it's going to be a Hunter Henry week. This guy has gotten
And
6+ targets in 3 straight games, 30 red, or it's not 30, sorry, 23 red zone targets this year. The Jets have allowed the eighth most touchdowns in the red zone. Hunter Henry's the guy that I really like for New England this week, but Stephon Diggs, the splits are real without Keyshawn Booty in the lineup. And now you get Mac Hollins out of there too. Stephon Diggs is going to have that volume in a Jets defense that they're bad.
yeah,
This is
they're
a
not
bad
good.
defense right now. So I think I love Diggs. He's a solid wide receiver to play this week. Opponent has Goff and Lamb feeling good about my chances. Great job. This is a great
Good
start to the
start.
week.
Yep.
I cashed in some money with Jared Goff unders this week. Hope everybody could get in on that as well. Standard scoring, I'm favorite pick one. Loveland, Strange, or Dallas Goddard. Thank you. What are your thoughts, Danny?
Of the three, Dallas Gollich's probably the third of the three. Just the fact that Buffalo's decent against they've done well against tight ends this year. Then it comes down to Loveland and Strange. Both those games are high scoring games, possibly too. But like you said earlier, Loveland may be a little bit on the back burner with Burden back. I'd probably go with Strange then as just a process of elimination. Just the fact that he's still getting looks, even in an offense where Myers, BTJ is getting some touches, looks, and Washington's getting touches too. But the Strange is still getting looks and getting some valuable points in fantasy for you.
Yeah, I'm going Strange out of this one. I do not like Dallas Goddard at all this week. Right? Buffalo, like I said, the one defense that I never start tight ends against unless they're literally named Trey McBride. Well, maybe Harold Fannin Jr. now. We might have to put him in
Mhm.
that grouping. But Bretton Strange going against Indianapolis, second most tight end yards allowed this year, third most fantasy points. Strange, like it is a great play. He's been really good, and he's been a big anchor for this Jacksonville Jaguars passing game entering the week. And like we said, we have multiple Jaguars we've talked about in this show that we think are
Mhm.
great plays This is even with Sauce Gardner back. This team's allowed the second most passing yards in the NFL. They've been abysmal over the last few weeks as well. Now they're down to Forrest Buckner again for the entire season. This is a defense you want to exploit. And I think Brenton Strange is a guy that will exploit that this week in fantasy. So go with him. Should be a great play in fantasy. Went through that one. I am in a debacle for the flex / running back. Pick 2 running backs: Hampton, Josh Jacobs, Kyron Williams. Pick 3 flex can include one of the running backs: Mike Evans, Diggs, and Juwan Jennings. This is a full PPR league. What are your thoughts?
Let's see here. Go through all the guys: Mike Evans, Diggs, Juwan Jennings. He's got 6 guys that he can pick from, so he's in a great spot right there. Let's see for the running back. Probably go Josh Jacobs. I mean, I know he's been hurt and he's kind of split last week with Wilson and stuff, but he's still going to be the guy that they get near goal line. They're probably going to put him in and score. Then to pick 3 more guys, let's go Evans, Diggs. Mm, God, the Rams frustrate me with their running backs. I mean, they have a great running game for sure, but you never know who's going to get the touches with them. That's the thing with them right now. So I'd probably go Hampton. Probably go Mike Evans, Diggs, and Hampton. Probably is 3 flex. But Jennings would be ahead of Kyron, no problem if you had to go that way too. If you not liking the matchup with Houston against Hampton, so that's probably what I go for this week. Those are when you have tough choices like that, that's good. You want to have tough choices going into your final game, but sometimes just the easy choices maybe the less headache before you're going into the game as well too. So
That is very true.
uh-huh.
I'm going to go against the grain here a little bit. I am
Okay,
benching Josh Jacobs
okay.
out of that grouping. Listen, this guy's a warrior. He's tough as hell. The Packers clearly are trying to get him involved still, but he's dealing with some injuries. His explosiveness is not the same. And Green Bay right now is also in a spot where they have nothing to play for, basically. Like they're playing for the division, but I think them now clinching a playoff spot, Jordan Love being potentially available to go and them not playing him is a sign. I don't think Josh Jacobs plays his true snaps. I think we see kind of what we saw last week against the Bears, where it's kind of a 50-50 split between Jacobs and Emmanuel Wilson. And Jacobs, with how he's been efficiently over the last month, that's not good enough. And he's listed as a middle tier RB2 for me. I don't think he's a must bench player, but I have Hampton higher in my ranks. I have Kyron Williams higher in my ranks. Kyron Williams, I love out of those 2 options. He goes against Atlanta. Really struggled against the ground the entire season this year. And then as far as your flex position goes, can include one of those 3 running backs. Honestly, I'm riding all 3 wide receivers over Jacobs as well. You have Evans and Jennings, who I already mentioned on this show, have elite ceilings this week right outside Evans, my low end wide receiver 1, and Jennings is the highest wide receiver 2 I have ranked. And then Diggs, we already mentioned it. A lot of injuries on New England side of things. Should have an increased target share and a really nice day. Like you mentioned, this is a really good lineup, and it puts you in a strong spot to win that championship. Am I good to start Drake London, Swift, Michael Wilson? Pick 1. What are your thoughts here, Danny?
He's getting an extra day of rest, so that helps on that part of it for London. I'd probably go Swift. Just a little more upside, and plus you just if London gets nicked up again, they're going to sit him, plain and simple. So and Wilson with Robert Harrison still chance of playing, cutting into somebody's playing time and his targets. I go Swift on that situation right there. London's a great play. He could absolutely go off against him because they could be in a trailing situation. But if he gets nicked up just a little bit, he's not going to play the rest of the game. It's just how he's been all season, and it's been frustrating because I've had him in a few leagues.
Yeah, I'm going London. Like I can't bench him in this situation, especially against the Rams, where it feels like the Rams are going to be winning for a majority of this game. The volume's going to be there for him. Kirk Cousins is going to find a way to get him the ball. I know Kyle Pitts has been his favorite guy over the
Mhm.
last month, but they're going to find ways to get Drake London the ball in this one. Drake London is healthy. They're playing him in meaningless games. He's good enough to have that snap share. He's good enough to have that volume. And the Rams are not world beaters by any mean in terms of a wide receiver matchup. You saw their defense. Their defense is actually a little bit overrated right now. They're allowing a lot of yards on the ground. They're allowing a lot of production to receivers. If they don't get pass rush, right, they have a lot of success. Atlanta is decent against blocking. Typically, when Kirk Cousins has been under center this year, it is a quick passing game, which bodes well for this Atlanta Falcons offense of making plays and going through. And clearly, when you have Bijan Robinson as your running back, that is going to be the focal point for the Rams to shut down. I think Drake London, quiet week last week, but in its championship weekend, there's not that many receivers that I trust more than Drake London entering this week. All right. Pet or Flowers at the flex, Tyler Warren or Taysom Hill, tight end PPR. What are your thoughts?
Let's see here. Had a good game last week, but now he's going to play against Seattle's defense, which has played very well against opponents' receivers. Flowers, he's going to be more of a check down guy since Jackson's probably not going to play. And we've already talked about Warren and Hill earlier, and I like Hill just the fact that he's going to be touching the ball so many times in that offense, running opportunities, chance of a pass play, or even catching the ball too. So I'd go Hill right there, and I'd probably lean Flowers just the fact that they're in a must-win situation, even though Jackson's probably not playing, and they're going to get the ball in their best players' hands, and it's going to be Flowers and probably Derrick Henry in that game most of the game. So I go lean Flowers and Taysom Hill in those two.
Yeah, I like Flowers. Oh, it's tough. I'm going
Yeah,
Flowers though. Tet, I love Tet. Tet's a great
yeah.
football player, but I don't trust Bryce Young at all right
Mhm.
now. Flowers 31 to 42% target share over the last 3 weeks. Green Bay is fourth most perimeter receiver yards allowed since week 12. The matchup's great. Tyler Huntley, I'm not worried at all that he's not going to feed him. He's still fed him when he's been the quarterback this year. Zay Flowers, I like the matchup. Go with him. And then Tyler Warner, Taysom Hill. Give me Taysom Hill, like I've mentioned on the show. I think his volume is going to stay true. The 10 plus rushing attempts, he's going to get 3 to 4 catches, right? He's going to play a lot. But without Alvin Kamara, Devin Neal, and Kendrick Miller in this offense, Taysom Hill is going to have that volume to have a nice day in fantasy. Tyler Warren, I'm not sure. Like his floor is he's been playing at his floor over the last few weeks, and
Yeah.
not a guy I like in my lineups right now. Appreciate all you guys for asking these questions. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. We do this every single week and get more videos throughout the entire week. Stuck between Buka, Agabuka, Parker Washington, and Kyle Williams, maybe even Adam Thielen. That's how down bad Emeka Agabuka owners are right now. What are your thoughts, Danny?
Being a Steeler fan, I wouldn't start Thielen. Just the fact that game's like 33.5 or 34.5 total. So there's not going to be a lot of offense in that game. I I'd go with the hot hand with Parker Washington. I mean, I know Kyle Williams shows up well on my DFS sheet this week. It's still the idea that offense is humming right now. Ibuka's been he's like the third option right now in that offense with Godwin and Evans both back. So I'd probably go Parker Washington. Just he has more upside. But I'd definitely stay away from Thielen. I don't expect
Yeah,
a whole lot of offense in that game.
I got Parker Washington literally ranked over Emeka Agabuka this week. So like it's not crazy to be benching Emeka
No,
Agabuka. The Dolphins, I'm not worried about Mike Evans struggling in that
no.
matchup. I'm worried about Emeka Agabuka struggling. Only 2 targets last week. Like it's just not looking good for Emeka Agabuka since Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, and Jalen McMillan are now all back in the lineup. He's a deep target threat that is not getting the targets underneath he needs, and he's not scoring touchdowns. It's not a great combination, and his floor is so dangerously low that it can lose you a week. So don't want him in my lineup, but I like Parker Washington over him. But as far as Kyle Williams over Emeka Agabuka, I'm not sure I do that. I don't think I can do that one. Kyle Williams here's the thing, like with Emeka Agabuka, you still have to think about his ceiling. He's still a pretty good football player. I know he struggled with drops this year, but if everything goes right with Emeka Agabuka, it's a 20-point performance. If everything goes right with Kyle Williams, it's probably like a 18-point performance this week. But both their floors are about the same. I'm going to Emeka
Yeah.
Agabuka. I think you just in this situation, you just go Agabuka. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree right there. I know in DFS, I'll probably start Williams just the fact his price is so low that you can add some more studs into your lineup. I'll probably go Ibuka if in fantasy wise, just the fact he has a safer floor. Miami's still not the best against teams, and the Patriots could get up big in that game and just pound with Henderson and Stevenson the rest of the game, and Diggs catches 10 balls and nobody else sees anything in the passing offense or Henry. So I'd probably go Ibuka. He probably has a safer floor over Williams. Williams' floor is probably 0, so there's still a chance. DFS, I'd take a flyer on Williams, but regular fantasy, it's Ibuka.
Yep. All right. Shout out to our boy Dougie G. Chip, tough questions. Irving or Sampson, assuming he plays. Michael Wilson or Parker Washington. Saints or Steelers defense. What are your thoughts, Danny?
Running backs, it's Urban. I mean, He doesn't look the same as he did last year, but you can't overlook him. He's still the guy that's getting the majority of the touches on offense. Receivers, going back to Parker Washington, I'm riding the hot hand of that offense. I can't see either one of those offenses really their defense is slow and their offense is down in that game, just so much is on the line. Then for defenses, it's the Steelers. I mean, they're playing against the Browns. The Browns are pretty limited too. There's no Junkins. They don't have any quality wide receivers to be really scared of, and Fanning is probably their best receiver, and he's the tight end. So I'd go to Steelers defense. Samson, I it's still Irvin. I can't go Samson. Irvin's going to be the guy on that.
Yeah, I can't go Samson either, and it's in a large part due to the Pittsburgh run defense is legit. The last, like, month, they've been one of the top-ranked rush defenses in DVOA, rushing yards allowed, touchdowns allowed. They've shut down running games, and you look at Detroit last week, Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery were just held in check, and obviously the Lions' running game is not the animal it once was, but it's not a good matchup for the Browns' running game. You're basically relying on Samson having some receiving volume to have a nice day. Irving, on the other hand, we know the type of workload he's going to get.
Yeah.
I don't love Irving in this offense one bit, but he's a solid, strong RB2 play. His ceiling might be capped, but I don't see Samson reaching his ceiling this week. There's a
No.
small chance that he does. Irving's the better play out of the two. As far as Michael Wilson or Parker Washington go, I like Michael Wilson more. Wilson's within my wide receiver 2 range. Jacoby Brissett had 43 or 46.3 dropbacks per game in 9 of his 10 starts. That's insane volume,
Yeah.
right? I'm not high on Marvin Harrison Jr., but I am pretty high on Michael Wilson this week to have a nice day. Expect Wilson to be a little bit better than Parker Washington. Then Saints or Steelers defense. Give me the Steelers defense. Shedeur Sanders has been a nightmare, but a great thing for defensive fantasy production. A lot of sacks, a lot of interceptions, a lot of fumbles. Good work for the Steelers defense. And the Saints, I don't sleep on Cam Ward. I like the Saints defense this week, but Cam Ward, 2 touchdown passes in 3 straight games. Both those rookie quarterbacks should be in for a great game on Sunday. All right. Next question here from Kim. PPR need one flex, Jalen Waddle, Tony Pollard, or Luther Burden. What do you got, Danny?
I'm going Jalen Waddle here. It's probably going to be a lot of offense in that game as well. So, and the weather I think is supposed to be decent in Miami. So I'd go Waddle. He's been the main guy, even with Ayers. I can't pronounce his last name. The rookies kind of looked at him last week too, so he didn't really drop off that much. I know Pollard's played really well here, but the Saints
Yeah.
defense is actually their running defense is actually decent. And Burden, and he's coming back from the injury. There's going to be some points scored in that game too. But Waddle's still he's been a top 15 wide receiver all season, so I wouldn't bench him going into a championship game between those other two guys.
Yeah, I'm not super high on Jalen Waddle, like in general, with how he's been performing, especially with Quinn Ewers at the helm. I'm not super confident in him, but I do have him slightly over Tony Pollard and Luther Burden. Pollard going against the Saints. The Saints have just been a really strong defense over the last 5 weeks. I don't love trusting. I know Tony Pollard's been great over the last 3 weeks. I just don't buy it still. I don't know why. I'm just not buying this Tennessee Titans offensive breakout. I think it doesn't make you feel confident. And then Luther Burden, I love the matchup, but I just don't have him high as Jalen Waddle. The encouraging part about Waddle is that he's been struggling, but his usage is still has been really good. 28% plus target share, right? The average depth of the target looks really good. And then this week they get the Buccaneers defense that they've just been struggling against perimeter receivers the entire year. They don't get any pass rush. They don't stop the run very well. I think this Miami Dolphins offense could be in for a strong day this week against the Bucs. And I wouldn't be surprised if they pull off an upset this weekend against those Bucs. So I like Jalen Waddle this week out of that grouping. All right, Ricky B here. Jackson Dart or Malik Willis? What are your thoughts here, Danny?
I'm going Dart. He's got more upside. I mean, he's not running as much as he did at the beginning of the season and stuff, but they are going against the Raiders. Raiders defense and they're not good, plain and simple. And Willis, with him, they don't push the ball down the field when he's in the game. They want him to play a controlled game and keep the running game and keep the game close. So I go Dart just because of the upside he has right there. I know he had a bad week last week because I had him in one league, but it is what it is. You've got to ride the lows with the highs, and this week should be a high playing against that defense in Vegas.
Yeah, I got Jackson Dart. Like, no Max Crosby for the Raiders this week. That is exactly what you want from Dart. And last week was a predictable down week for Jackson Dart. The Vikings defense was dominant entering the week. It was going to be a down week for him. this will be a nice bounce back situation for this offense where a lot of their guys are playing. I know the offensive line's injured, but they're going against an injured Raiders line versus an injured Giants line. So it's kind of a net
Mhm.
neutral for me on that end. Jackson Dart has the rushing upside that you want at the quarterback position. Like Malik Willis looked really good in limited action against the Bears, but I don't expect him to be better than Jackson Dart will be this week in fantasy. All right, Guillotine League, final flex, AJ Brown, Derrick Henry, Ramondre Stevenson if Henderson doesn't play. What are your thoughts here?
Mm. I'm going Henry. They're starting their backup quarterback, and they're going to give him the ball. Him and Flowers are probably going to see most of the balls, and maybe a little bit with the tight ends mixed in. I'd go Henry, just the fact he's going to get plenty of touches in this game. That they need to win, so might as well ride your horse. Since you still have him, who knows how many more years he's got left? I'd go Henry in this situation. AJ Brown's probably the second choice, unless Henderson is out, then Stevenson would pop up that second choice. But just the fact that they're playing against Buffalo. Buffalo plays more zone, and he struggled a little bit with zone. Uh, Devonta Smith's probably the more their zone buster when it comes to receiving and stuff. And Stevenson, just Henderson plays, they're on split time, and it just doesn't give you the upside as Henry would.
Yeah, it's really tough because like I look at it and like, oh man, like AJ Brown, right? 95 yards in 4 of his last 5 games. He scored 4 touchdowns during that stretch. Like he's been really good in fantasy. And like I said earlier, it's hard to bench him in a situation, right, where he is coming out on fire, right? AJ Brown has typically been an inconsistent player. The matchup's tough against Buffalo, but AJ Brown has had that volume. And you look at his schedule. Chargers, really tough against perimeter receivers. He cashed in on that matchup. He
Mhm.
faced Jalen Johnson and the Chicago Bears, had 132 yards in that matchup as well, right? He's had some easier matchups mixed in there, but his production has still been really good. This is one of the best wide receivers in football that we're talking about that can overcome tough matchups. I like AJ Brown. Derrick Henry has been a little bit worse without Lamar Jackson on the field during his Ravens tenure. I like AJ Brown to have a better day in fantasy football this week. All right, CJ here with a question. Taysom, Tunges, Loveland, and Jason Myers or Pinheiro. What are your thoughts here, Danny?
Uh, it's gonna be Taysom between the tight ends, and for the kickers, it probably won't really depend what the weather's gonna be like in Carolina. Myers just been a monster this year for scoring points. I'd lean Myers, just the fact he's at one point there he's had 3 field goals like 5 straight games in a row. And that's great for fantasy.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like they're a kicker offense for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I as far as the tight end one goes, I'll go Taysom Hill over Tunges and Loveland. Like I've mentioned with Hill, like he has that rushing upside. With those running backs out, he's going to have that route share and route participation that you want to see. Titans are a great matchup for those two metrics. They're a little bit better against tight ends, but Taysom Hill's not a traditional tight end. He just has that
Right.
tight end role in fantasy football. Tunges, I do think, is a sneaky play this week considering the fact that George Kittle could potentially miss and the Bears really struggle against tight ends over the middle of the field. So I like Taysom Hill out of that group, but don't discredit Loveland. Here we go. Tyler Warren, Taysom Hill, or Dalton Schultz in PPR. What are your thoughts?
There, adding Schultz makes me waver a little bit with saying Hill over right here. The, the production that Schultz had here recently, if it's not Collins getting the ball, it's been Schultz. I mean, he hasn't been looking into the rookie wide receivers here lately. So I'd probably go Schultz right here.
Yeah, I like Schultz too. Schultz has been actually one of the more surprising players of fantasy football of 2025. His consistency at the tight end position. It feels like he's just a locked in low end tight end one, going to get you 10 to 12 points. He doesn't have the ceiling that Taysom Hill has, but I think that he provides that stability and that target share that you want at the tight end position. I think it kind of depends on what you're looking like in your matchup. If you're chasing points and you know the guy has like Puka and JSN, or if you played against like Jared Goff, for example. Like I think that definitely plays a role in your decision making here. But I have Dalton Schultz as my tight end 6 entering this week. Taysom Hill is my tight end 10. Go with Dalton Schultz. Next question here. Stroud or Tyler Shuck? What are your thoughts?
I'm going to shove right here on this one. Just the fact that they're playing against the Titans defense. Titans defense has got better as the season went on, but I'd still go with him. Just the fact that he uses his legs. He's I think he's averaged over 25 yards in the last 3 games rushing running the ball team. He scored a couple times against the Buccaneers too, and he's averaged over 250 yards passing too. I mean they've opened up the offense when he became quarterback, and it's they've played well here recently with that too.
Yep.
Stroud, just the fact they're on the road, they're playing against the Chargers. The Chargers defense seem like play better at home, so probably a little bit of knock right there. And Stroud usually plays his better games at home. He's not a very good road quarterback, so I go shot on this one.
Yeah, Tyler Shuck's been consistent, 17 plus points in 4 straight games. Like he actually looks like a good quarterback too. He's
Mhm.
making those high level throws you want to see. He's very accurate and he's using his legs well. And this Saints team has been winning a lot with his play. Like this is a good football player that we're watching. And Stroud, he's going against the Chargers who have been really good against quarterback production. Stroud's a quarterback 21 in points per game this year. Not a guy that you can consistently trust in fantasy. I like Tyler Shuck this week against the Titans, bottom 10 in the NFL in points allowed to quarterbacks. Give me Tyler Shuck. All right, and then Henderson if he plays, or Michael Carter this week. What are your thoughts, Danny?
Probably lean Michael Carter, just the fact that he's the main guy running the ball for them. Dema Carter is not really doing a whole lot with them, and Henderson, he's still not even official yet if he's going to play. And if he does play, he's going to split time. And Stevenson's probably going to get the majority of the workload. So I probably go Michael Carter just because he's got a safer floor.
It's tough, man. It
Yeah,
really is tough. I would lean Michael Carter. I think that
yeah,
risking Travion Henderson this week for them doesn't make sense considering their playoff push. Like, and I am worried about his snap share if he does
yeah.
suit up. I think he's a dangerous bust play and could ruin championships if he does play and doesn't play his normal amount of snaps. And let's say he gets like 8 touches and finishes with 25 total yards. That would be really disappointing for Travion Henderson owners. Michael Carter played a ton, 70% plus snap share in this offense, dominated the early down work, has been getting a lot of targets in the passing game too. I think you go Michael Carter in this situation against the Bengals,
Yeah.
who've really struggled against running backs the entire season. All right. Would you start Woody, Marvin, or Emeka Egabuka? Ooh, man, these are 3 players I had
That's
as must sit. So
ugly.
we're gonna have to pull into the hat for this
Yes, it's
one.
ugly choice. Heck, I may have to go through my spreadsheet here real quick to see where I'm ranked at. I haven't planned on playing any of them in DFS, so that kind of shoots me in the foot for who to decide. I'd probably go Woody, just the fact he is starting. He's a starting running back for them, but he's been
I'm thinking
picked up
Woody
too,
too.
so I'm not sure. Yeah,
I'm thinking Woody too, just based on like the volume that he's had when he
yeah.
has been the starter. I know Jawar Jordan has played good enough to earn more work. I
Mhm.
think with Woody, he's always had that snap share. He's always had that volume. He just hasn't cashed in on that. And he only had
No,
4 of his last 5 games were under 7.9 fantasy points, but he had a ton of volume. Like I think you trust that when he returns to the lineup, he gets that volume back. Chargers have been inconsistent against rushing production this season. Maybe he falls in the end zone. Marvin Harrison Jr., I don't know how much he's going to play. Emeka Egbuka, not many targets last week. He could
no.
literally lose you a week. Woody Marks, I think if when he returns to the lineup, his volume won't lose you the week. All right. Taysom Hill or Kyle Pitts, what are your thoughts?
Ugh. Man, I'm going Pitts. Just the fact that there's going to be a point scored in that game, and they're going to have to be able to throw the ball. I mean, Cousins has loved him since he came back in the starting role, and you could have another 10 catch, 100 yards, 3 touchdown game with him. Just the way that offense has been running here lately. I mean, they're going to concentrate on Bejon, so that's going to leave some room for the passing game for them. So I'll probably lean Pitts, even though I like Tyson Hill a lot this week too.
Can't bench Kyle Pitts. Can't believe I'm
Yep.
saying that, but you can't bench Kyle Pitts in the fantasy football playoffs in 2025.
Yep.
He's been dominant. He's been scoring so many points. You just can't bench him. It's his last flex spot. The rest of the team looks dominant. So I think you're going to be in a good spot
Yeah. I think it's
right
fine
here
on
with
that.
this squad. So
Yep.
should be in an overall good spot. We're closing in on the end of the show. Make sure you drop those final questions for me and Danny to help secure your championship for everybody that has dropped a question. Appreciate all you guys for tuning in this week in week 17. Aaron here, half PPR guillotine, Mayor Allen starting Chase Brown, Jamar, and Puka. Already played Pickens and Harvey. Pick my final flex: Amarian Hampton, Travion Henderson, Kyron Williams, AJ Brown, and Nico.
Phew.
I love looking at guillotine teams. They're just so loaded.
Oh, they're so stacked. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
the idea. Now it's just the idea of picking the right guy for the week. It's the problem you run into. I'm kind of torn between May and Allen. Just the fact that Allen always plays well against in the big games too. So let's go Allen for the upside on that for that one right there. Then for the final flex spot, let's go AJ Brown. Just the fact you can have a guy on both sides right there in that game. You kind of enjoy it together if you want to on that part. I know Hampton probably has the safest floor, and Kyron's kind of got a decent floor too. Oh, I look right past Nico.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I'd still say AJ Brown.
All right.
What the heck? I mean, you're in that situation where enjoy that game watching it. That way, you got guys on both sides. That way, you're not. Oh, I can't believe AJ just scored a touchdown right there, and Allen comes back and really right down the field for another touchdown, and you at least can enjoy the game a little bit on that part. So I go AJ.
I'm going Allen over May. You trust your stud. Josh Allen has
Mhm.
won so many people games in fantasy football over the last 5 years that you go with your stud. He's my QB1 this week. May's actually my QB2, but it's literally nitpicking at that point. Both are great plays this week. As far as the flex goes, I go Nico Collins. He's been on fire as of late. AJ Brown I have ranked slightly behind him. I think both are great plays this week, but Nico is the highest upside play in your flex spot to have a great week. That's a great lineup, and ultimately,
Yeah.
I think you're going to be setting yourself up for a championship W this week in fantasy. Doug, major thanks again. Appreciate the data analysis and assistance. Appreciate you, Doug. Hope to see you soon on this channel. All right. If Henderson doesn't play, who do I start in flex? Corum or Flowers? Danny, personally for me, it's Zay Flowers. Like the target share
Yeah.
has been so good.
Exactly.
Matchup against the Packers, like that's a good matchup as well. Fourth most perimeter receiving yards allowed since week 12. They've really been struggling. Now they don't have a pass rush. Tyler Huntley has peppered Flowers targets in the past. I
Yeah.
know Corum is going to be a high play for a lot of people this week, but the Zay Flowers volume's true. It's kind of crazy though. He made the Pro Bowl with more fumbles than touchdowns this year, but that doesn't stop us from playing him in fantasy football.
No. No, it does not.
All right. Next question here from Nate Frog. Need two of Trevion Henderson, Stevenson, Derrick Henry, DeAndre Swift, and Kenneth Gainwell. Who you going with here?
Gainwell's probably the first guy I'm putting up. Just the fact that the volume they have, and he's been a do all guy right now for the Steelers. It comes down between for me, it's Henry and Swift. Probably go DeAndre. I think there's going to be a lot of points in that Sunday night game. NFL's a funny thing. It seems like they seem to pick the right games at the right time that people want to watch, and I think that game could be fun to watch Sunday night. So I'm going DeAndre Swift.
I got him close. I got Kenneth Gain. I'm going Kenneth Gainwell and Derrick Henry still.
Okay.
Henry got slightly higher than Swift, but he's obviously very close with him. Henry is my RB 16. Swift is my RB 20 entering this week. Kenneth Gainwell though, he's up there. He's my RB
Yeah.
13 this week. So Gainwell's been on fire. He's actually been a league winner, 19 point per game average over the last 4 weeks. Receiving volume's great. You got to get him in your lineup. And then, like as far as Derrick Henry goes, you know he's getting 20 touches in this one. They're gonna find a way to get the ball in his hands in this game, which is a must win for them without Lamar Jackson. DeAndre Swift, great matchup as well. Like you have great situation here between
Yeah.
your running backs. Uh, Joe Burrow or Drake May?
Ooh. Let's go Burrow.
Mm.
It's a coin
Ooh.
flip earlier for me on that part. I have no problem starting either one. I'd lean Burrow on that. Just the fact they're going against the Cardinals, and probably a little more upside. I mean, I know Chase Brown's been hogging all the touchdowns and stuff, but hopefully he can throw a couple touchdown passes to Brown and a couple touchdowns to Chase and T and call it a day.
Yeah, I got Drake May. He's like I
Okay.
said, he's my quarterback too. The Jets defense, absolutely who I want to be targeting. I mean, think about Trevor Lawrence's performances a few weeks back, and Drake May's been playing at a higher level than Trevor Lawrence this year. So Drake May is going to have a great day. Give me Drake May. Uh, Next question here: Hill or Barner, and should I wait on Hendo concussion or should I go Lad? My flex today if passes Hendo I'd be forced to play Burden. What are your thoughts? I know what I want to do here.
I'm going Hill. Yeah, I'm not going to wait on Henderson on that part. And the lad has been just a guy this year, so I'm going Hill in this situation.
And then, yeah, I'm going Hill in this one. You get the volume play with Hill, and you get the ceiling play. He's going to have that volume he had last week based on the injuries that New Orleans has this week. As far as your flex goes, don't play Lad McConkey. That would be a mistake. Luther Burton has a great matchup, and then is a great pivot option if Henderson is out. I would go Henderson over Burton, but it's a lot closer than people think this week. But Luther Burton is a great sneaky play this week in fantasy football. All right, last question. Here we go. One running back, two wide receiver, one flex. Should I play? Actually, we got one more after this.
Okay.
One running back, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex. Should I play Hampton today? I also have Hendo and Jay Warren, London, Michael Wilson, Evans, and Devonta. What are your thoughts?
I'm gonna play Jay Warden. I'd hold off playing Hampton today. Then for the 2 wide receivers, it'd be London and Michael Wilson, and the flex is Mike Evans.
Yeah, I like it. I think you go Hampton today in that running back position. As far as the wide receivers go, you got to trust London and Evans. And then as far as the flex goes, I love Jalen Warren mixed in there. I think all those guys have the matchups and the volume that you want to see in your lineup to give you a good spot to secure that win. Right? Everybody's worried about London, but the matchup this week against the Rams is elite. Good perimeter matchup on the outside for Drake London to catch in, and even in the slot when he's playing there as well. Expect Mike Evans to bounce back this week. He's been having an elite target share since he returned to the lineup. All right. PPR flex, Michael Carter, Woody, or Luther Burden. I'll answer this one and you'll answer the next one. The next one's right up your alley because it's a Parker Washington question. In this situation, I'm going Michael Carter. Gets the volume and he gets the Bengals' second most rushing yards allowed. A lot of running back production allowed in fantasy. Michael Carter's been that bell cow since Bam Knight went down. Expect Carter to have a nice day in fantasy. And then Parker Washington or AD Mitchell. Danny, what are your thoughts?
Parker Washington. Uh, uh, Granted that the Jets are probably trailing in that game, but you still got Brady kick thrown in the ball, so I'd rather have Trevor Lawrence who's got the hot hand with Parker Washington. Even if he's the second or third option on offense, he's still gonna have more opportunities than what AD Mitchell's probably gonna have this week.
Yeah, 100% agree. I think AD Mitchell, though, sneaky player heading into
Yeah.
2026.
Him and Mitchell
Michael
could be
Wilson or
sneaky
AJ Brown,
DFS.
Stevenson, or Jalen Warren. I'll answer the first one. You answer the second one.
Okay.
AJ Brown, 95 yards in 4 of his last 5 games, scored a touchdown in 4 of his last 5 games as well. He's elite. You can't bench him in this situation right now, despite the tough matchup. What are your thoughts on the other question?
And I'm going Jayden Warren, just the fact that they have nobody to throw the ball to. They're going to go through the offense is going to go through both him and Gainwell this week, so they should see a lot of volume. And it's the Steelers win this game, they clinch the division. So the offense is going to run through the running backs there this weekend.
Emmanuel Wilson or Zach Charbonnet?
I go Wilson.
Man, call me
Just
mid-cough.
Yeah, it's a problem. I go Wilson. Just the fact that he split weeks snaps last week, and they may do the same again this week with Jacobs and stuff. But Wilson's the play over Charbonnet. Charbonnet had some good weeks. He was scoring touchdowns, but he still hasn't had a big game this year. And it kind of always relied on him Walker the third being out for him to have a big game.
Yeah, I listen, it's tough because I just don't know what I'm getting from Emmanuel Wilson. Like, he can give you 2 points or he can have a monster day this week, depending on Jacobs' volume. I know Charbonnet is going to have the red zone work in this offense, so I'll go Charbonnet in that one just based on the red zone touches alone. He gives you the chance of a higher floor play when both of them have incredibly low floors and could just lose you a week.
Yeah.
Start 2, Tet, Gainwell, and Waddle. Get Gainwell in your lineup. This guy's a
Yeah.
lineup block at this point, 19 point per game average over the last few weeks. As far as Tet and Waddle go, I like Tet more. I know Seattle's secondary is definitely a little bit scary. Bryce Young, a little scary play, but he's just been better than Jalen Waddle over the last few weeks, even despite Jalen Waddle having a favorable matchup this week. Question for you, Danny. I missed ETN. I am playing ETN as RB2. Already played Harvey, so Jalen Warren over Hampton and Hendo. Okay, to wait until Monday for London, I have Michael Wilson, Devonta, and Evans.
I go Jayden Warren. I think right there, you just got a safer floor this week with that way that offense is going to be set up tomorrow. And Steelers are one of those teams too. If they got the lead, they're just going to try and run the ball down your throat. And Cleveland hasn't been as well stopping the run this second half of the season too. So I'd go Jayden Warren.
Yeah, and then as far as waiting for London, from everything I've heard, London is going to give it a go this week, right? I don't expect him to be out. I'm just making sure, right? He's limited. He'll play this week. He will be in that lineup. So I would go him over those guys. And then final question of the day: Stafford or Trevor Lawrence? You go. Ooh, fudge.
You flip a coin.
Trevor Lawrence is my quarterback 3. Stafford's my quarterback 7. I'm going Trevor Lawrence in that one. He's just been on fire as of late, and you can't slow down this Jaguars offense one bit right now. Great matchup against the Colts, struggling against quarterbacks, second most passing yards allowed in the NFL. Should be a great overall matchup. Well, guys, really appreciate you guys answering and asking all these questions here on Blitz Fantasy Football. If you guys have any more, check out my Twitter. I'm answering everybody's questions throughout today and tomorrow to help you secure that championship. Stay tuned for the more content we have coming out for you guys. Here we got the Fantasy Football Playoff Challenge I will be announcing soon. $25 buy-in can compete against everybody here at Blitz Sports Media and secure yourself a nice little prize fund after the fantasy football season concludes. Well, all in all, me and Danny appreciate you guys. We will be back in week 18 for those people still playing. If you guys want to tune in, and we'll have more videos coming out throughout the offseason. So make sure you guys tune into that. We will catch you guys next time here on Blitz Fantasy Football.